Recognized for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Mr. McGovern. Madam Speaker, this is pretty exciting here this morning. I think this is the first time in about 5 years that I've been here when we were actually having a debate, really discussing what both sides stand for. Mr. DeFazio was wonderful. He's absolutely right. He knows what he's talking about. We haven't built any roads. Do you know that we've only built one airport from the ground up in the United States since 1972? And that every place else in the rest of the world have brand new airports. They're all whizzing about on high-speed rail. We don't have any. But we've spent $2 billion a week while we were in Iraq. Willing to spend that, maimed 46,000 young people, killed thousands of them as well as the people in those countries for oil. So, but what we're really doing here this morning, and what pleases me so much, is we're really showing the difference in this country of what the two sides believe in. We don't believe over here that the richest people should get richer. We don't believe we need a budget right now that lowers the corporate tax rate. We believe that all Americans should be paying their fair share so we can try to build it back up. And maybe we can start to enjoy some of the things that happen elsewhere in the 21st century. But this budget is a misguided proposal driven by flawed math. At worst, it's a cynical choice to balance the budget on the backs of the most vulnerable Americans in order to protect the incomes of the powerful special interest and the wealthiest few, and it does precisely that. It's not news to anybody in the country now that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer and the unemployed are desperate. Everybody knows that. The issue is, what is the Congress of the United States going to do about that? Now, with this proposal, the majority gives an average tax cut of $200,000 to families earning more than $1 million a year. So they're okay. They earn $1 million a year, they're going to get a $200,000 tax cut with this. But to pay for it, we have to raise the taxes on the middle class. And let me tell you how we do that. With this proposal, they defend this tax loophole that we've been trying to close ever since I've been in Congress, the $40 billion over 10 years that we give oil companies so they'll drill. The 5 major oil companies, we pay them $4 billion a year so that they will drill. Like they weren't having the biggest profits on the face of the earth and that nobody needs to encourage them whatever to drill. But we pay for that. And to do that, they're going to turn Medicare into a voucher program. And we've discussed this before. That means that your aged parents, grandparents will go into the marketplace by themselves, or maybe you can go with them. That would be good. And look for their own insurance policy. They will be given a government voucher or stipend or whatever they want to call it to help them pay for it, but it may not cover the cost. So the rest of the cost will come from the senior citizens. It takes exactly away what Lyndon Johnson had in mind in 1968. The benefit guaranteed by Medicare will be gone. Now, to pay for that, again, they want to keep the Medicare plan we have today, and with this proposal, the majority reduces the tax rate paid by corporations. I've said that before, I want to say it again. Corporations' tax rates are reduced, and we already know that most of them put all their assets in the Cayman Islands or in some other country over there and pay no taxes whatever. But if we just brought some of the tax money back from the Cayman Islands, I bet we could have high-speed rail in the United States. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So they take $137 billion in nutrition assistance, the food that people live on, out of the mouths of low-income families struggling to get by. Now, the author of this budget said such draconian cuts are necessary because, quote, "We don't want to turn the safety net into a hammock that lulls able-bodied people to lives of dependency and complacency," end quote. If that's his goal, he and his colleagues have written a budget that badly misses the mark. For the hammock of dependency isn't found in the homes of the working Americans, but on the beaches of the Cayman Islands, where powerful special interests in the wealthiest few depend upon the policies like this budget to build their own hammock out of the social net that used to support the largest middle class on earth that is fast disappearing. For more than 3 decades, the wealthy and the powerful have used money and influence to secure tax cuts, to deregulate industries, and to pass free trade deals that put corporate profits before America's jobs. So doing, they have redirected revenue away from the federal government and made it virtually impossible to fund the programs that made our nation the envy of the world. With the wealthy and powerful exempted from paying their fair share, our nation puts tens of billions of dollars and 2 wars on the nation's credit card, and fail to invest in maintaining our roads and modernizing our airports, building efficient passenger rail here at home. As a result, highway bridges are literally falling into the water, our airports have become laughably out of date, and our trains travel at speeds half as fast as those found in Germany, China, and Japan. Far from solving this crisis, the majority's budget doubles down on the failed policies by reducing taxes for the rich and powerful even further. We've already said a millionaire gets a $200,000 tax cut, so we're going to ask the most vulnerable Americans to pay the price. Under this budget, 170,000 children will lose Head Start. 29,000 teachers and aides would be left without jobs. College students already suffering under the staggering costs of higher education would be told that they must repay their loans while they're still in school, and may I have an additional 2 minutes, please?
I could yield the lady an additional 1.5 minutes.
All right.
The lady's recognized for additional 1.5 minutes.
Would be told they have to repay their loans while they're still in school, and $205 billion would be cut from programs like Pell Grants, making it harder than ever to get the education that a modern world needs. Perhaps most egregiously, the promise of secure and affordable health care would be broken with the repeal of the Affordable Care Act and the end of the Medicare guarantee. Under the majority's budget, Medicare would be turned into a voucher, as we said before. On Sunday, a news program, 60 Minutes, traveled down the winding roads of the Cumberland Mountains into the heart of Appalachia in an RV called the Health Wagon. The aging vehicle is the only source of health care for thousands of Americans in desperate need of medical attention. The vehicle is staffed by 2 incredible nurses and other medical volunteers, including Dr. Joe Smitty, the Health Wagon's volunteer medical director. After completing medical school, Dr. Smitty had to enroll in truck driver school so that he could drive the Health Wagon's X-ray lab, an 18-wheel truck, to find diseases that would go undetected. These volunteers have seen the price of individual Americans pay when the chamber puts the priorities of the rich and the powerful ahead of everyone else. Dr. Sandy said of life in the Cumberland Mountains, quote, "This is a third world country of diabetes, hypertension, lung cancer, and COPD in the United States," end quote, a third world country. Madam Speaker, through the works of the Health Wagon, though they say every day is heroic, no individual living in the wealthiest nation on earth should be relying upon the goodwill of volunteers to receive modern medical care. Doctors and nurses of the Health Wagon should not be relying upon federal grants. Can't do it.
I yield her additional 30 seconds.
The gentlelady is yielded an additional 30 seconds.
So that's why we say this budget is not a reflection of our values, but theirs. It's through the budget we decide whether we protect tax loopholes for big oil or provide our fellow citizens with access to secure and affordable health care and education, a job, and a place to live. It's through our budget we decide whether kids can go to college or not. And only by choosing an act and asking every American, including corporations, to pay their fair share, corporations are people, I understand. We established that Supreme Court, we'll be able to put every American on a path to prosperity, restore our role as the most advanced nation in the world. Thank you.